Welcome. This edition has His Royal Highness, who needs no more introduction, Leee John. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Barry. It's great
You know how
being
hard
here.
it was to get this guy? He's so busy. So let's start.
Well,
Okay, let's start. Let's hear
what I've been doing.
So, growing up, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Finsbury Park. First off, I must take this out of my mouth.
Yes, you
it's
should.
rude everybody to be talking
Terrible.
on TV with this. I grew up in Finsbury Park.
Right.
I grew up, I was born in Hackney Hospital. I don't think it's there anymore.
And possibly another building site.
Another building site. But I grew up there.
Right.
Well, I didn't grow up there. I was born there. And then we moved to Finsbury Park, next to the Arsenal. I was going to Gillespie Primary School when I was very young, right next to the Arsenal Stadium,
Right.
in fact. And then for 1 year, as my parents split and we went to America, I went to St. Joan of Arc. And then I stayed in America for 4 to 5 years. I got signed at 12 to a label.
Really? So you were making music as early as that?
I was writing and making music. I was playing violin. I did a bit of piano. I did voice in a choir, like the glee clubs now.
Yeah.
I did all of that. I did that at a very, very young age. And then I also went to a track school when I was in New York, Bishop Locklear Memorial High School. So I did long distance.
You see those legs?
Hey, they're still there. Since 1981, they're still here. They're still there. So it was great. It was a great experience for me because I was there in the early 70s.
Right.
So it was a time of change. You just had, obviously, Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy just been assassinated, but you had this blackness, you had this black awareness because of the Black Panthers, Angela Davis, you had
Black Power, the Fist, the Afros.
You'd had that Diane Carroll doing Julia on TV, Flip Wilson.
Remember
show.
that with Corey Baker, Julia Baker? Yeah.
All of that. It was a very exciting time. Isaac Hayes getting the Oscar for Shaft.
Correct.
Shaft. And it was just vibrant. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier were at loggerheads, and it was a whole thing. The Temptations were out there doing Lord of the Land, and Papa was a Rolling Stone. It was a very, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, the Staples.
You had a lot to aspire to.
Oh, totally. And it really, in the neighborhood I lived in, Brooklyn at the time, remembering there was a record shop on the corner. So we used to hear music all the time. And I remember when Diana Ross had left the Supremes, I didn't know the Supremes. I knew Diana Ross.
Right.
Because that's how it seemed. I didn't know who the others were. But what happened, how I got to like her especially, was I was coming from school and there was this tenant who lived below because we owned the house in 58 and 95th Street, East New York Avenue. And they call these things the stoop at the time.
That's right, the step outside, yeah.
The stoop. And you could hear, like me coming up the road, you could hear dun 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 ba dun 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 dun, and I'm walking up the street, and I heard this thing. I thought, what is this? And all the neighbors and the kids were all dancing to this track. And when you're young, these kind of things affect you, and it was like amazing. But I love the orchestration. And I fell in love at that time, I would say, with Ashford and Simpson.
Oh, well. How can you not love Ashford and Simpson?
It was because I used to look at who wrote, who produced, who did everything. And I'd follow the next thing that they did, or when they worked with Shaka Khan, who they worked with, and whomever. I was very
amazing
much that
songwriters.
Kind of thing. And so, but in Brooklyn, I was introduced to other people like Carla Thomas and the Persuaders, the Persuasions, the Shy Lights, the Stylistics, Black Ivory. There was a group called Black Ivory that were local.
Leroy Burgess.
Who
is coming to London on the 2nd of November, I think.
That tracks was You and I.
Yeah.
Don't turn around. These tracks were part of my very early upbringing before I came back to the UK in the mid-70s, where it was all about Sweet and Blockbuster and...
Well, this is it. You know, growing up there is a very different experience musically as a black person. Because as you say, you've got so many people to aspire to. But what I'm trying to find out is, was that always in you? Was it never a question that you were always going to be doing music? Because some people, it comes later in life. But from you, from what you're explaining, from a child, it was there. You were writing, you were...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I felt I wasn't good enough. I always felt I had to be learning. I saw other people that are better than me. Yeah. And I always believe in educating. I believe in still
self-development.
Yeah. Even now, there's things I don't know. I think I need to learn about this.
That's
what's
right.
going on. So I kept that mantra all the way through. And my sister was one of those people that also said, look, you want to do singing, you want to do that, make sure you have another job to fall back on. Like my mom had said that, but my sister said, you can still do the music, but if you're doing the music, make sure that you realize it is still work.
Yeah.
It is still
It's
work.
not fun, it's not, yeah.
It can be fun, but it's still work. So if you go with that mantra of it's still work.
Approach it with a work head.
With a work ethic. And that's what I did. I always approached it with a work ethic. So I kind of balanced out. So in the 80s, when everybody was getting into all these drugs and all that crap, I was not into that because that was not my ethic. Yeah. If I want to get pissed on champagne or something, we have a good time. And we were dancers. Yeah. I came from a group of friends that we like to go out there and dance and have a good time. Yeah. I think that comes from the Caribbean, especially St. Lucia, we want to jump up and wind up and, you know,
that's
celebrate.
Right, yeah.
You know, that sense of celebration.
So it was always encouraged for you to do that because, you know, like a lot of black parents, they like, as you say, get a job. What are you talking about? You want to be a singer, a model, dancer. What are you talking about? So it was really encouraged. You were encouraged to do it.
Well, when I came back to the UK in 73, 74, my good friend, who's not with us now, and myself became a duo. And we were writing, and we had this kind of Jackson 2 thing going on. I wouldn't say Jackson 2. And he was wild and crazy. That's Russell.
Russell, our dear friend, yeah.
And we started to write together. And we were into the old myth of stardom. So what would happen, we'd go to President Records, where Eddie Grant was, and say, we want to be singers and stuff. And they wanted to sign us. Yeah. They really wanted to sign us, but we heard such bad things about them that we didn't go there. Okay. And they said, well, look what's happened to the Equals. Do we want to be with them? Then we went to EMI, and there was a manager who was sitting in the reception, and we looked at him and said, he looks like a manager. He should sign us. Right. And he looked the part. He looked the part. Right. So what happened was, we said, are you a manager? And he said, by coincidence, I am, but I also have my new label. So we thought, oh, okay. So he said, well, what do you guys do? He said, well, we're singers, and you know, we want to be stars and stuff like that. And so he said, oh, well, have you got a tape or anything? I said, no, we can sing for you. We've written all our own stuff. So right in the reception of EMI, we sang and danced. Everybody was applauding, and so we thought we'd made it. We haven't signed anything. We thought we'd made it. And he then said, look, come back and see me. My address is da-da-da-da. And then, you know, we had a meeting with him, and he said, yeah, I'll sign you up. But unbeknownst to us, he was the manager of David Bowie's Spiders of Mars band. Right. So the band that David Bowie
played with,
was he managed them. Because everybody thought when David Bowie left that these are the guys that would take off. Right. And I remember seeing a huge set built like a spider. They'd invested all this money. So he was getting a label together. He had us. There was another young guy they called Walter Mitty. We had, went to the studio, one song of ours, one song from a guy called Dennis Bond. We had Gonzalez doing all the music. Remember
Gonzalez? I haven't stopped dancing yet.
They were the top session people. We also had, on background vocals, a group called Thunder Thighs. Thunder Thighs sang on Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side. Yeah, not yours. How rude. Not yours. Thunder Thighs, they were more thundery. Yeah. So they sang on our record, you know, get up and dance. They were singing all that. And we were in Mayfair Studios in South Molton Street. I remember it like it was yesterday. South Molton Street was the hippest place to be. There was a restaurant they called Gatsby's. And before I stopped eating meat, I eat chicken and fish now, but I used to eat these huge Gatsby burgers, and they used to have these They were like Knickerbocker Glories, but huge.
Oh my God.
And I remember we'd go into the studio after eating all this stuff to sing, and we're like, belching up, and it was crazy. But it was such a fun time.
Yeah.
Because the music industry in the 70s was all built on money and a lot of bravado.
Yeah.
So I felt after the record did not do anything that I needed to learn my trade. I needed to know more about what the industry was about as a professional and my craft.
So what was the single?
It was called Get Up.
Right.
And the B-side was One Life to Live.
Okay.
I think the music was better than how we sang. Not many people have heard this record. And not many people will.
I'm getting a history lesson here about many things today. I'm getting a big history lesson here.
With me, it is about history.
Yeah.
Because for me, as you know, I'm doing a film called Flashback.
Indeed, which we will get to.
Black music. But for me, it is about history. Because for me, I survived on history. I survived on the music and biographies that I used to read of all the different artists that came before me. Lena Horne and Satchmo and
Ella, Billie Holiday.
I read Billie Holiday's biography, I remember, and then I saw Lady Sings the Blues, and I thought, that won't happen to me. I'm not going to get on to do. It was those kind of situations. And thought, well, how did their lives end up this way? And it's inside of you to fight to say, well, I don't want to end up that way.
It's all about an individual and how they perceive what's happening to them and the environment they're in. But like some people can be in a negative environment and still shine and still rise above it.
And you wouldn't know it.
So it really is about the individual. But now, you being in the industry in the 70s, now this is the exciting bit. Because obviously, Leee John, Imagination.
That's the 80s.
Yeah. Is that end of the 70s? No. Was
Imagination, its first hit record was in 1981.
81?
Exactly.
Oh,
I was still a baby in the 70s.
I must have been an embryo.
A thought in somebody's mind.
A thought, that's it. Okay, so it's 81.
Yeah, 1981. Some people say it was the 70s.
Yeah, it seems like it was the end of the 70s.
No. I was still out there banging on doors and plugging and doing backgrounds, and by the time Imagination, the beginning of it was going to start, I was in 3 groups.
Really?
I was in a group called The Fizz, which were a jazz funk group.
Right.
And these were young Jewish guys who lived in Golders Green. And George Michael, after I left the group, took over and took the lead on that group. Not many people know.
The Fizz?
The Fizz.
Okay.
And I was in another group called the Sun Valley Serenaders, and we used to gig down in the George Canning pub in Brixton every Thursday. That was like a really good paying gig. We do all the working man's clubs, the bingo halls, Peckham Bingo, Chelsea Bingo. I did every bingo hall. So I was appearing to 2,000 people a night way before I was doing Imagination. So I was playing these huge venues.
Then Imagination came. Right, and the first single was?
The first single was called Body Talk, which I wrote on my mother's kitchen table. And I'm proud to say, because it was my mother's kitchen table.
Yeah.
And the reason why, I had another track which I had written and co-produced with Trevor Horn, the producer, called Got to Be Good. That record was sent away to get remastered and put new music on it. That was going to be my single, not the Imagination single, my single.
Oh, right, as a solo.
As a solo. And when I kept asking the record company, where is it? When's I going to hear the mix? When it's going to come back? They kept putting me off, saying it's going to be back next week. They lost the master.
Ouch.
So by this time, Buggles' video Kill the Radio Star became a really big hit. This is, say, the ending of 1980. So I was in a real desperate situation. I was really not pleased with them, but they wanted to keep me.
Right.
So I bumped into who became my producer, Tony Swain, and they had said, you should get together with him. He's a really cool guy. And I was kind of like, by this time I'd had a lot of experience. I thought I knew it all and everything. So I thought, okay, what are you giving me? Okay, this cassette. Okay. So I took the cassette home, and that's where I listened to it. It was just a rough idea.
Right.
I went to the studio, and I brought Ashley in, because Ashley, my bass player, was with me doing a lot of sessions.
Right, Ashley,
He'd come from Northampton, and I used to bring him around, and we do all these little bits and pieces. I drag him in everywhere. And he was learning the scene in London. And so it was always good to have your musician next to you if you're going to do a show or something. So I'd called him, I said, look, we're going to do kind of like an Ashford and Simpson sort of thing, and but not exactly the same. But he said, what is this? I said, come in. So went to the studio, because I asked Morgan Khan, who was the A&R guy, to sign me. And basically, we rehearsed, then recorded Body Talk. And it was one take, all in one take. That's what you hear, just the ad-libs thrown in and spun in, but it was one take. And everyone in the studio who was there didn't know what to make of it. They had no idea. You know, all of a sudden, everyone got so excited. Morgan Khan was like, my God, you know, this is, you know, whatever. It was just like, bam. And then straight away, white labels came out, and everybody thought that this track, who's it from? It was from America. It was here and here. There was no name for the group as yet.
All right, so you still weren't even called Imagination
yet?
No,
weren't called Imagination yet. And then gradually, Steve Walsh, who was the DJ at the time,
Steve,
was doing the Beat Route and all these different clubs. He loved the track, and he was saying, you know, you've got to do something. And Imagine was number one, or just been number one at the time. And there was a group of us there thinking of names and all that kind of, and I was turning every name down. I was saying, no. But then I looked, because someone mentioned the Imaginations and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, it's funny you're mentioning that. I'm looking at the chart and it's Imagine. It's number one. So I thought there's something there. So I thought, you know, Imagination is interesting.
It's a sign.
Yeah, because it meant that you could be anything.
Yeah.
You could just be anything. You could have different images, different looks. You can, you know, it didn't have one dimension. It could be anything. So I thought that would explain what I'm about as an artist.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. Then later on, the record started going out there, and gradually we thought, you know, we're going to have to start doing some promotion for this. And just before we got Top of the Pops, along came Errol Kennedy, because he was part of a group called Midnight Express. Mm. And I'd auditioned for Midnight Express, and so did Ashley. And they kept me waiting if I was going to... Because even though I did the record, I was still gigging.
Yeah.
In about three different
groups.
Yeah, I was gigging. I was still doing auditions.
Yeah, but you'd done the record, but it wasn't making any money yet, so you still had to.
Any of it, because I thought, you know what, it may happen. And I saw the support that British black music had gotten before. I'd seen High Tension.
With High Tension,
Central Line, Light of the World. I'd seen it because these were my friends. We all clubbed together. So I had a realistic idea and thinking, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, okay. And that was my studying the history of black music from that early age.
Yeah.
Seeing what had happened to the predecessors before you. The Real Thing had come before me. Heatwave had come before me. Billy Ocean had that time. He'd had a few hits. Eddie Grant, of course. Yeah. So I looked at it and thought, well, this is an interesting exercise. Let's see how far it goes. In the end, just before Errol came in, a group cancelled being in Top of the Pops. And by this time, the record was getting a lot of momentum by the DJs. And, you know, more and more people asking us to do playbacks and PAs and stuff. And so it was building. So it was getting kind of fun.
Yeah.
So not making any money yet. We were like on a retainer, I think, of £70 a week or something like that. It's quite funny.
Which was a different thing in those days. Yeah.
Just to buy outfits.
Yeah.
So I'd left home and I was living in Tottenham with a school friend and a designer friend of mine called Brian Clark. And he was doing all these new ideas design-wise, and I was always into fashion. So he was basically dressing me.
I was going to ask this. Now, who was dressing Imagination? Because some of the outfits were quite outrageous and, you know, completely different from what was going on out there at the time.
Well, no. I think you're wrong there. Because,
really?
Yes, you're wrong. If you remember, very rarely, you had, when we were going back a bit, we had Crackers, we had Bird's Nest.
Of course.
We had Lawrence Corner. Yeah. We had Portobello Market. We had High Street Kensington. We had punk. Then we had new wave.
Right.
By the time Imagination came on the scene, all this club scene became huge in the UK, in London.
All right.
In London. So all we did was like, we'd see Catherine Hamnett, we'd see Vivienne Westwood. What we did was we expanded on that look and took it to the TV.
Right.
So the rest of the country hadn't seen that look. But unless you were around at that time, you'd sense, we knew where it was coming from. Because people would be going to the clubs in all sorts of looks. If you remember rightly, at the time, everyone had different makeup, different this. We just took it to the next level. But to the Joe public outside of London, oh my God, you know, all my relatives were saying, oh my goodness, did you see those people on TV last night? You know, it was all like, it got blown up so big that it could never go back down. It was so, everyone was like, wow.
Yeah.
And every week the producer wanted us on the show. Every week, because the viewers were calling in. It was like, it was amazing. But I knew that we have to get better each time we go on, what we're going to do next. And it was actually due to Morgan Khan, because Morgan was the one saying, what are you going to wear, Lee? What are you gonna do? Stroke that piano. And I was like, oh my God, what my mom's gonna say. You know,
do you know my mom's watching this?
Yeah, that's what it was. And I remember, truthfully, my first time on Top of the Pops, when I came off that stage, I cried.
Really?
Because as a child, you watched this program.
And you couldn't believe it.
And I was so nervous because I felt the whole weight was on my shoulders. And it was great because I had my two best friends, Leroy Logan and Russell Fraser, were in the studio while I was doing it. So they were with me at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
They were there when I was doing my other stuff, but they were at the very beginning
of getting big.
Of Imagination.
Yeah.
So, and I was so grateful for that. Not many people have that, you know, and they're still with you as times go by, up or down. So I was very blessed to have that balance at the very, very beginning. And so I'd hear in my one ear someone saying, that was good, but you could do that, you know, or what were you wearing? Oh my God, no, show this. And the other one's going, don't listen to him. You were good on that, you know. So it
keeps you grounded too.
Both of them were always, my two friends were always arguing. They were always, but it was great because then I could hear, okay, yeah. So half my life was that, having those friends there who never agreed, but were friends.
Yeah.
But in my life. So that also helped.
And always with your best interest at heart. Yeah. That's the important thing.
Yeah. So there was always a debate. So it was like, it was never a situation of, that I didn't question things. You know, I sometimes, let's go with that. Let's try it. You know, other times I think, this might look good. But it was always about the lighting. It was all about how it would look. It was all about experimenting. You know, so sometimes some of the outfits went completely. It was like, how will they stay on? Those
are the outfits I remember.
How will they stay on? You know, I mean, the photo sessions were the funniest ones because it started where we went to Italy and we were this famous photographer. I can't remember his name now, and it was close. Yeah, it was the Illusion cover for the actual 45 sleeve. And our outfits were due to fly in after us. But in the meantime, he wanted to take some pictures, but we had no outfits. So we got into his studio. I don't know how he did. He had pieces of plastic, different colors, and we cut them up and made them into, that was the 80s. You just cut things up and you just this, and all of a sudden there was an outfit.
An outfit.
Yeah, it looked like some kabuki sort of thing. We put sticks here and we did some wild things. But then when you looked at it visually, you thought, that would be on a runway in Paris.
Indeed.
That would be on, and that was the whole 80s.
So you just gained momentum from the first single and it just got better and better and better and bigger and bigger.
I mean, even thinking about that, it was great. And we did it again once in King's Cross. There used to be a photo studio there. And they wanted us in Imagination outfits, and we didn't. We came in our normal clothes, and it was like, oh my God, here we go again. You know, have we got to make?
Pass me the bin liners and a pair of scissors.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly with a bit of glitz on it. You know,
got any glitter?
The thing about it was a lot of escape. It was a lot of fun, and I think especially nowadays, you know, when we've got so much political unrest. And actual fact, in those early days, you had the riots in Brixton.
Absolutely. So
it
was always there.
You had the coal miners strike.
Yeah, it was always there.
It was a bit of a depressing time. And you had Thatcherism. Some people liked it because she helped them with their businesses, and other people didn't. So you had all this conflict. There's a lot of conflict. Yeah. So we kind of took away a lot of that.
Distraction.
Yeah. But it was always about the music. And we represented, we were ambassadors for Black Britain.
Right.
Because when we went away everywhere, everybody thought we were American. So when we opened our mouths and they found out, now we're from North London, it became a completely, different thing. So we represented a hell of a lot when we left the UK. And we became so huge, we became bigger than the record company.
Right.
That was the funniest thing. We became bigger than the record company. They couldn't control us. Because normally the record company tries to. There was always
bridle you to put reins on.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, there were moments, I mean, as I think about it, and every interview I speak about to people, it's always very different. And I always think about different things because it depends on what the interview is. Because we were talking, I just remembered in 1984, I think it was it Freddie DeMann? Freddie DeMann, who then went to manage Madonna. He actually was managing the Jacksons with Ronald, was it another guy, Wisner. Anyway, he came to London. They signed us to Elektra Records. He wanted me to do a solo album and manage me.
Right.
But because the deal I had with my manager in the UK, we didn't actually have a deal with my manager. We just did it because we couldn't agree on paper. So he said, okay, we're getting on along now.
Just
let's go.
Keep going as we are.
The paper.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I couldn't just go with another American manager. And my career would have taken off differently had I just said, you know what, I want to go with Freddie DeMann.
Right, you would have, yeah.
I could have, but I didn't. And it could have gone into a completely different... These are the kind of things where you think how life is like.
Yeah.
It would have gone somewhere else.
But everything goes where it's supposed to,
it is,
ultimately.
It is, but I'm a person, I'm very faithful to people.
Yeah.
I'm very faithful. I was very faithful to the group. I felt there will be time for me to do that. You know, probably now is not the right time to do that. I was very faithful, and that was it.
So when did imagination come to an end?
Well, it's always continued in spirit, in mind, in body, in and I need more water. Excuse me. Doing this, edit. It's this room.
Yeah, it is hot.
And so it's always been going. Imagination has always been continuing with me at the helm, whether I'm doing a solo project, whether I'm doing a jazz project, if I'm doing working with DJs. No matter where I go, there's always somebody wanting me to sing an imagination song, regardless. I could be, you know.
You were always at the helm, though. We need to say
I
that.
was steering the ship.
You were always at the helm.
And Errol left in 85, 86, just after we did Thank You, My Love. He left.
My favorite. I love
Thank you, my love. Remember the day we first laid eyes on each other. Oh, it's crying. It was one of my favorite songs as well. We wrote that with, well, actually, I remember I programmed in the beats in a thing called the Dramatics. And I had a sequencer keyboard, and I had just done a few little bits in it. And then I sang on top of it, and then Ashley came in and put his chords down on top of what I did. And then we took it to the studio, and then Nigel Wright, who's been Shack Attack, who now does all the music for X Factor and The Voice, he does all that. He came in and he said, right, we're gonna do this. And they laid the music down. And yet again, this was a funny story because they were in Chertsey. And they had a pub at the corner, and this was the studio. And these guys are pub people. I'm not a pub person, but they were always pub people or pub lunch. So they laid all the music down, and I thought, okay, we'll have a break, and I'll come back and do the vocal. Oh, no, we got to do it all before we go to the pub.
So once they're finished. When they're dead, that's it.
I said, what? No. I used to because I've been doing the guide vocal and all this kind of stuff. And then I did the background vocals. And then I went to do the lead. I said, well, I got an idea. Let me just try it and see what you think. So literally, the beginning you hear, they're the good things and the bad things.
That's right.
But I was saying it, and I was laughing at the same time because they're making me laugh. So you hear, it was fulfillment of a lifetime. And I did it all serious again. And I sang the whole song through. And they said, that's it, pub. Seriously, all the no one could ever see my love. There'll never ever be one. I'm catch my breath. And it was one take, literally one take. And they said, pub.
Oh, that's a true pro, right?
And that was it. They were going, I said, I want to do it again. We were arguing. I was arguing. I want to do it again. No. They were determined. They really were determined.
Well, clearly you didn't need to do it again.
Because by that time, I think by the time we'd done Illusion, Heat the Night, and Changes, and all the other hits, I'd become this perfectionist, trying to make everything the best, till finally you kind of think maybe the first isn't as good. And I came into the industry with our very first take. Right. So it just took me all the way back. You can always learn as a reference to what you've did before, you know. And what had happened was I'd been routining the song all morning. So by the time I got to sang it, I knew it. It wasn't like anything's going to be any different.
any different.
But for me, I wanted that to be the best. And I think it depends on what, how you use your tools, how you want to, I just want things to be the best.
Well,
from the audience especially, because I think, and it's amazing because especially in South London, Thank You, My Love is a big hit.
I love it. I can't say anything else.
There's so many people, and I get emails, people saying, especially the reggae guys, they love it. They say, you know what, that's an underrated song. People don't talk about it. And I find a lot of people love Thank You, My Love.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
So I'm glad I wrote it.
Me too.
I'm glad I wrote it.
So now being in the industry again, after all these years, what differences are you finding and how are you adapting?
Social media.
Making it a lot easier?
It's quick, it's fast.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful team working with me. Archie's over there.
Hi, Archie.
And it's, I have a good team. Ido and Steve the Greek does all my merchandise. We've built up a nice team of people who come into it like a family. So it's great because we have this understanding of, I like things done like that, You always want it done yesterday.
I
want it done. I'm firstminute.com.
Yeah.
I try to be, but sometimes you do forget. And social network has made it quicker so we can get things done a lot quicker.
Right.
But we sometimes forget that we didn't always do it that quick. We had to wait for the fax to come through or the letter to come through.
Yeah.
Do you remember those days you sit there waiting for the letter? For the email.
Yeah.
You used to wait a week or so for the letter, for a check.
Absolutely.
You'd be there going, oh my God.
Now it's just transferred.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
transferred. So those kind of things, change. And I think that reality television has had its good and bad points. It's been entertaining on some bits. I mean, I saw the early bits of reality TV, like Jerry Springer. I used to like Jerry Springer. That was fun. And when I first saw Housewives from Atlanta, I thought that was hysterical. But then after a while, you think, oh, hold on a second.
Yeah.
This is getting a little bit, this doesn't represent.
Tedious, repetitive, monotonous.
And then it starts to get a point where they do divas and singers and this one and that one and and it goes on and it's like I think they've even got a reality show about the pets. It just gets crazy.
Just stop now.
And exactly. So I'm at that point where even to the point people think if I go on these shows I'm going to be a successful singer and performer. They've not done any groundwork. They've not done.
Well, when you listen to how you studied everybody, the artists, the foundation, these people, a lot of them just think, I want to be a star.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they really want to do, like necessarily. Music isn't necessarily their passion, whereas it was yours. They just want to be famous.
You have to study what you do. And I've always said to many artists, the secrets are in the past.
Yeah.
All the secrets to what we are today are in the past. Probably the body of work that I've done is something that other people are studying now. I don't know. But for me, it was that way, studying in the past. That's why I say the history is so important because the history will help you survive.
Yeah.
You see, history will keep you going and also keep you learning. Because sometimes you think, let me go back and check something here. Was this such and such? And I'm so glad that we have these references to look at nowadays, And also with media, even for me now, which is good, I can watch the biography of somebody that I loved.
Yeah.
So having those kind of access. But I think in today's society, education needs to be, I think, stepped up a lot more. There's some people, some youth who can't read.
Yeah.
But they know about rapping, but they can't read, they can't write. So in the process of what I do, I feel that my journey has taken me to another level where I have to educate now. I'm not just here just singing and dancing and screaming and carrying on. I have to take it to another level. Henceforth, I'm doing the flashback film.
Yeah.
So basically, this is going to contain, is containing a history of a salute to so many different people who have contributed to British black music over the last couple of centuries, whatever, decades, I should say. And we start from the turn of the century up until, say, 70s, 80s, 90s. The 90s really, because the 90s is when the industry kind of came crumbling down.
Yes.
And there was not the support anymore. It became boy bands, girl bands, groups. Then
Just Add Water. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's there. Yeah.
And then the reality shows came in, and all of a sudden, to have a deal, you had to go on the reality show. Yeah. So therefore, the support system changed completely. So I mean, interviewing Beverly Knight, she was probably one of the last performers that they actually invested in.
You see, that's the thing, as you say, the investment and the nurturing. They nurtured artists then.
But she came from an independent label.
Right.
Then she got to the actual pinnacle with the signed label, thinking, right, I'm going to get all this backing, and then had to revert back to an independent. So she went full circle. So that's an interesting story there. And nowadays, when it comes down to some of the younger artists, you don't know their music necessarily. You probably know their name more than you know what the songs that they've done. Yeah. And that's what I find. You know, I don't know, so half of the people are out there.
There's been a big push about them, but what's their song?
Yeah, what's their song? You know, I know Tiny Temper. I probably know one song.
Yeah, maybe. I know the name, Tiny Temper, but I couldn't tell you if I heard it. I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, because basically everybody's using the same software, and that's it.
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom. So everybody can use auto-tune and sound. So you're thinking, you know what I'm saying? I can sound like Beyonce too. So, you know. But it's true. You can. Just get the software and you can.
You can. It's true. Absolutely. So are you now busier as Lee, Treble Lee, on your own than you were back then? Because every time I look at you, I'm somewhere, you've just come back from South Africa, and I literally think this man travels in a TARDIS, because I don't know how he gets from place to place so quickly.
I have been in Doctor Who.
Okay.
In actual fact, we did a Doctor Who convention last year, which is really great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was really cool, because you meet all the fans. I have Imagination fans, and all of a sudden you've got these Doctor Who fans. I'm thinking, well, I did it in 1983 when we had Music and Lights, and they take it very seriously.
They do indeed.
Your Doctor Who, they take it extremely serious. But it was fun, and
And where was that? In England?
It was in England. It was in England. We did that, and it was very funny, because all of a sudden I find any show I do in the UK, guaranteed in the dressing room there'll be an envelope, and in that envelope will be a picture of me as my character, Mansell, from the Enlightenment episodes, and they'd ask me to sign it in that name, not Lee Imagination. They want me to sign it as a character.
As a character.
Yeah. So some things stick with you, but I'm glad, I'm honored that I was in an institution like Doctor Who. You know?
Yeah,
so I've had those kind of things. It is an institution. I mean, I played a part.
And you just did Children in Need.
I did Children in Need, which was huge. It was Wembley Arena completely packed out with Boy George, UB40, Bananarama, Nick Haywood, Nick Haywood, Jason Donovan, Misha Paris. It was huge, very, very huge. And I'm then doing Tony Blackburn's show in the next couple of weeks with Shack Attack and Real Thing. I'm going through the whole.
Yeah, you just not stopping.
And then I'm touring next year. Next year I'm doing a tour with the David Guest Foundation. So that's going to be with, I think, Rebecca Ferguson, Junior Giscombe, and a lot of American artists. So it's going to be very big. It's all over England in March. And in January we go to China. We tour China and we film in China. But I have to finish the flashback film. That's one of the main things. That's one of the main things. But I'm also promoting the album, because the album was something that organically came about. It was in between the deaths of my sister, my best friend's, my best friend's wife. And I was recording the album. And I had to literally, everything was booked to go to France to mix it. And there I was, had buried my best friend and had to go off and do this body of work. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And in doing that, and I talk about it because it's like a therapy. I talk about it because I feel there's other people that have suffered in different categories. But they grieve. And through the grieving, I did the music, and it was like each song means something to me. Even, like there's a track I did the best I could, and I remember Russell was sitting down there and he was playing it over and over and over and over and over because he was thinking of his wife who'd passed.
Yeah.
So that memory sticks with me. Brighter Day, which I wrote when my sister had the accident, and I was writing that in Germany. And these are very hard things. That
was just like a whole crazily tragic time.
Yeah, and Vernon, the DJ.
Yeah,
Vernon,
DJ Vernon.
While Russell was in hospital,
it was just
like. And you think, how am I gonna get through this? Luckily, I was out of the country afterwards to get rid of it. But I had my family that I had to really keep together, and Russell's family to keep them together. So my distraction was kind of keeping them strong and keeping them uplifting.
Yeah.
And through being in show business, you know how to fake
The show goes on. The show goes on.
So you know how to fake it sometimes.
But also the fact that you're still here and doing it is the inspiration that gives you strength.
Well, I think so. I think, there's so many other artists that have passed since then as well.
Yeah.
George Michael and Whitney and Michael. There's so many different people that I didn't think I'd ever
see the end of their days.
I think they're still here with us.
Because they're so gargantuan, their body of work, their music, their personalities, you actually think they're almost immortal and invincible.
They're gonna stay forever.
Even though you know it's unrealistic.
But you do. You think they're going to stay there forever, and they've inspired you. And I feel now that my work has become even bigger, because I think, as someone said to me, the universe is big, but the world is small. And what happens is people start to gravitate to who is left.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, so they're looking at you. Something in my direction. Yeah. So it's like all of a sudden, there are people that I know in the business that have been going even longer than me, and have given me strong advice, and had gone through the same sort of grief. And so therefore they saw how I was doing it, and they said, you're doing the right thing, doing it through your music, doing it through your creativity. You get those moments, I do get those moments. All of a sudden you think, oh my God, and you want to just cry and let it go. Well, you have to.
Well, that's human.
Yeah.
That's just being human.
What I feel is I always hear Russell in this here, I hear my sister in that here, and I always do. There are things that when it comes to the business, I think, I'm hearing a Russell there.
Yeah.
Sister, things that you think,
well, they're in your head.
Yeah.
They're in your head.
God,
it's as simple as that. They're not going anywhere.
Get out of there,
they might not be hearing the physical.
They were very strong people.
Yeah.
And I can't let go of them ever, because they're always there.
And even if you wanted to, they're not going to let go of you.
No, they're
right there. So we move on to the album, which was released
this year
on.
Oh, no, this is the EP.
This is the EP.
This week. This is this week.
Was Thursday? Was it?
Yeah.
On Friday?
I don't even remember. I think it's Thursday.
Thursday or Friday.
This week or next week. You know what? I don't even keep up, because, as you said, I've been traveling so much. I came back from South Africa and I went straight to do Children in Need. So that's
what I'm saying. I don't understand. I mean, because obviously the career now has been systematically planned. It's because the momentum is so.
The best important thing for me is when I see 9 o'clock, 9:30, I'm in my bed. That's it, because I'm up early.
I hear you.
Seriously, that's very important for me. If I need to make sure I have, and I said that to a lot of people, yes, those times you can go to parties and premieres and stuff, but there has to be that period in your day-to-day life, besides exercising, which I do, to have a calm moment. I can't be this crazy 24/7. I have to be able to have that moment to sit down and become. That is the thing.
So what do you do with your busy schedule to keep Lee on his level, equilibrium, and, as you say, calm?
I still listen to music.
Right.
When I'm traveling.
That's your therapeutic thing.
I listen to music, certain types of music. Like every morning when I get up, I listen to Ella Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to Ella. Andreas Vollenweider, who's a wonderful harpist, he was part of what we call New Age in the 80s. I still listen to him because
that in itself is therapeutic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, that's important, so I can breathe. For me, I must find that moment to breathe. But people around you can make you go crazy. They're the ones that, because they're demanding so much. And sometimes people, unbeknownst to them, could make you, I have to literally say stop. Because it's like they're going on too much. Like, okay, let's bring it down.
Yeah, because ultimately only you know what you're feeling and what you can do. So regardless of what people are demanding of you, you're the one that has to put the brakes on it.
Well, now I've got a very, very good answer for a lot of people now, and Archie knows this, because before I used to like, okay, we're going to do that. Okay, we're going to, no. No. Even if it's like, but no.
In inverted commas, capital letters, no.
I'm at that point in my life where I don't need to do everything.
Yeah.
And,
you can't.
And it's you have to think clearly, is this going to make any difference? You know, that's the whole thing. Is it going to make any difference? If it is, then let's go. If it's not, let's move on to the next.
Well, as you said earlier, when you're older, number one, you haven't got the time, but primarily you haven't got the energy.
Yeah, totally.
And the inclination to do everything and be everywhere. The opening of an envelope, the dropping of a pin. You got to be there and be seen and be. So.
I like new influences.
Yeah.
New ideas, new things. I'm checking all the time, and I find sometimes you've gone someplace and you think, I've been here before, haven't I? Or oh no, it's not. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And bless some people. They try and think that they're giving you something really fantastically new.
It's just another party.
It's just another party.
It's another
like years
party.
ago they'd say, "Oh, you've missed it. It's the best. It was this. It was that." Which sometimes, but then I always believe that there'll always be another one.
Another one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll see you then. But I'll see you then in a different outfit, maybe. But
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So. And I think, I would say let every moment count. And that's why I'm so grateful. Like on the album, Louis from Incognito is playing guitar.
The new album.
This is the new album.
This is the single. All right, this is the new album. This is the new album. This is the single.
That's right.
And I'm loving Fantasia.
That's an interesting story because Fantasia I wrote many years ago, and some of the songs in the album I wrote a few years ago, but they always meant something. And some of the times I'd perform them and the fans would like them, but I never put them on an album.
Okay.
So it was more a fan-based thing where fans were saying, well, why don't you put Hello Goodbye? Because Hello Goodbye is a ballad on the album. It's acoustic guitar. And it was really important because Hello Goodbye is about loss. It's about the lights that are in your life that dim. Even though they're dim, they're still there with you. And you're not saying goodbye, you're saying hello. And that's what that's about.
Okay.
And then with Do It Right Now, I've got a whole Do It Right Now campaign going. I'm going to have the t-shirts. And Do It Right Now is telling everybody we have to do it right now, not tomorrow.
No, don't put it off. Yeah.
Do it right now. And that's what that's all about. And how back in the day we used to get down and do our thing and have a good time. We have to do it right now. And that's a big campaign. When I was in South Africa, hopefully they're going to adopt that campaign. They've been playing Do It Right Now consistently. And I know one of the Mandela Foundations is interested in using that whole branding with us to join that whole Do It Right Now. So I've got the trademark for it, so that's important. So it's about doing it right now.
Got the trademark, nice, yeah.
To everybody, because I think with all the political crap going on nowadays, people are thinking listless. They're not feeling like they want to do anything. Gun crime, knife crime, everything. It's like, what are they focusing on? What is your focus?
Because I guess if you're also of a negative thinking mind, you find it all disillusioning, quite disillusioning.
Yeah,
and you just
I know a lot
think,
of them.
throw your hands up, give up, and that's not really helpful.
Youth about this. And the wonderful thing is we have air, and from air you can take so much to create, and it's right there. But you just have to do it. It's right there. You can do it. It's right there. You see something and create. And that's what we did. We lived in an analog era.
Absolutely.
You see, that's the problem. Everyone's digital. So therefore they think, oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's crashed. Can't do anything. We did it from air.
Remember the times before mobiles.
Exactly.
I mean, you still were able to meet people. You were still able to go to on time. Exactly. You still were having meetings. You still were doing business.
Remember I told you about the envelopes. About, getting delivered a letter. Yeah. How many times did you think, oh God, is that coming? Is that money coming? Is it coming through the post? God. And you're sitting there at home and you're thinking, oh God. And you're thinking, oh my God, and it didn't come. You think, oh my God, you're having a heart attack.
Exactly, and every day you're behind the letterbox.
Ringing up.
Well, have you sent the check yet? Yeah. Well, the checks in the post is a classic one, isn't
That's
it?
the one, checks in the post.
Yeah.
But now it's like, has it been transferred?
Just give me your details. Give me your bank details. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. We've been spoiled so much.
Yeah.
Everything is like,
immediate gratification.
Yeah. So therefore, you don't really see the earth, the water. You don't,
You actually don't appreciate what's going on around you.
I love green. I like the park. I like, to see greenery because that's so fresh. It's like seeing animals. I love to see animals because they're not being influenced. Not yet,
they do exactly what they like when they like. Yeah.
That to me is natural. And I think that's what we as humans have to start taking more interest in.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it right now. Lee, thank you.
Thank you.
For fitting me into your extremely busy schedule.
Oh, darling, I knew I'd try it somehow.
I know. And hopefully one day you'll take me out with your TARDIS.
China's next.
Okay. Just let me pack a little grip.
Yes, a grip. Yes, I like that. I say that.
Of course.
That's an old-fashioned thing, grip. Oh, my God. That's a good one.
Thanks for joining us, guys. See you next week.